Yes, we don't want them next to us.
Yes, too short.
You're sitting behind me, honey. How about if you stand between me and Elaine? And Harold can speak forever.
I'm the tallest one.
Because I know you want to look taller, but...
Okay.
Thank you.
Daphne is er over een kwartiertje.
Then I go stand over here. Oh, like yesterday. Can you go a little bit down like this? Yes, please. Yes. I'm sorry.
Oh. Everybody, welcome Michaela, welcome Elaine, writer of the book, welcome Mia. We are very proud to launch today the books noemden duivelskind, taking flight in English. This is the first publication in the world. We are the first to publish. We are very proud of that. We have 3 speakers today. Ted Brandsen will after me do a short introduction. Then Daphne Deckers, one of the people who first noticed your story in Holland, will give you the first copy of the book. And then Elaine will read some passages. So Ted, if you can use the microphone.
I think you can hear me like this. Yeah, we're not so many. Welcome everybody, and it's actually, I don't think I've ever done this before, introduced a book that was written by and about one of our dancers. So this is quite a special occasion. Our previous director, Rudy van Dantzig, wrote books himself about his life, but that was completely the other side. When Michaela first came to take class with us, I had no idea that this would all happen. I had no idea there was such a story behind her. I just saw a girl who was extremely talented, who took class with us after she'd been dancing in The Hague with Venus and Tom Stewart. And they sent her to come and take class with us in December. And I thought, this girl's like had the most amazing jump. And she could turn like a top. And she had something in her eyes, a fire in her eyes that made her really interesting. And she was very young, that too. And so we had a chat afterwards, and she was saying how she had heard about the company, she didn't know so much about it, but she was really interested in coming to Europe and coming to a place where she could start her career. And she was explaining to me how in America it's not always so easy for African American dancers or for colored dancers to get in. There's a prejudice there, which for us just doesn't really exist. We don't have that issue. Not that there's so many other colors in our company, but that was never an issue. From the first moment, I thought, this is a really interesting person, this is a really interesting young artist who could become something. And then I heard the story, the backstory, the story that you can all read in the book. And of course that really touched me like it touched so many other people. And in the year and a bit that you've been here with us now, I think a lot of people in Holland have heard about this story. And it has touched and resonated with so many people. But I just want to say to you here and to Michaela that for me, her story is her story, but what I see every day is this young artist, the dancer that you are now, the person that you are now, who has had the great fortune to be, coming into a family with so much love, helped you, find your way through life, and become the beautiful person that you are now. And I'm very excited that you're in our company. Last year, she was in the junior company. 40 shows or something, all over Holland, but also to Spain and to London, and company shows with the big company. And this year, it's different. She's part of the company, and she has to find her own way now. And she's doing very well. Next week you're going on in Pas de Trois, Swan Lake. Not because she was like first or second cast, actually she was 6th cast, but everyone else got sick or injured, and she was ready. She was there, ready to go. So that's what we're going to see. It's a major role already, so I'm really happy that that's going to happen. And I look forward to many more years. And I wish you good luck, and I'm really pleased that you are here, Elaine and Mia, and that we can share this moment together. It is an amazing story, but I look at the dancer and at the person now. And I'm really glad that you can share the story and share your hope
read about your life story, I thought it almost sounded like a fairy tale. You know, you have a beautiful orphan from Sierra Leone, plagued by malaria, hunger, poverty, war, who clings to her one possession, which is a picture of a dancer in a magazine. The girl was given the opportunity to escape from all this hardship and become a dancer herself. But when I read your book, I realized this is not a fairy tale. If anything, it is a cautionary tale. Because right now, as we speak, there are wars in so many places in this world. Whole generations of children with an uncertain future. And just think about all that lost potential. Children who could have been ballerinas, just like you, who could have been writers, politicians, designers, inventors. I think we have to do everything we can to help these children. And you could say you were lucky growing up in these circumstances. You do need luck, but you were also helped by kind people who reached out to you. And I hope you will never stop reaching out to children. And you also had hope for a better life. And you registered that it was on September 13th in 1999. And it's September 13th again.
Oh my God!
15 years later. And this is certainly not your first ballet lesson, but it certainly is your first Dutch book. And I wish you a lot of success and a lot of happiness. And I hope you can inspire a lot of people with your life story, your book, and your work for years to come.
Okay. Let's take the, Mia, just,
Freddie needs to go to an Italian height. Mia, do me a favor, honey? Michaela, thank you. I was invited to read a bit, and I chose the moment when Michaela brought her dream to me. We all know about her finding the magazine photograph, but we don't know how I learned of her dream. And it was the day that she had her visa approved in Ghana to enter the country, because these little orphans had come into the country illegally, and they were stranded after getting off a plane. And it was quite a difficult time getting her there, because the doctors almost did not approve her entry into Ghana because of her spots. They thought she had congenital syphilis, and I had to practically threaten them. But because I tutored medical students in the U.S., and they had a great deal of respect for teachers, and I told them that she had vitiligo, they let her in. And that's when Michaela fell in love with her new mama. And I'm going to read you a bit of that, and then how she brought her dream to me. After we finally received our visas, we were taken to be examined by doctors. They were African doctors who were paid by the American Embassy to screen immigrants to the United States. The doctors took one look at my skin and spoke among themselves, wondering if my spots might be the result of a terrible disease called congenital syphilis. My new mother stood up to these men too. This child does not have congenital syphilis or syphilis of any kind. She has vitiligo. The doctors and I stared in wonder at Mama. She didn't look like anyone I'd ever seen, with pale yellow hair and eyes the color of the sky. How do you know? Are you a doctor? One of the African doctors asked her. Actually, I'm a teacher of medical students, she answered. The doctors immediately stopped arguing with her. They stamped a paper, and I was approved for entry into the United States. With a mother like this, I knew I could do anything, even dance in pink shoes. I didn't realize that my new mother was scared until I gripped her hand and felt that she was trembling. When we sat in the waiting area, she held me close to her. Before that moment, I had remained aloof from her, but now everything had changed. She had defended me, protected me, just as my African mother would have done. She was my mother now, and I leaned back into her arms. It had been a long time since I had felt protected. Later that day, we went to Mama's hotel. Binti Suma and I were thrilled to see that it had a real bed, just like the one that Papa Andrew had used at the orphanage. We leaped up onto the bed and bounced up and down in a fit of giggles. Mama laughed and hauled us off the bed. She carried us giggling into another room, where she flicked a little switch on the wall, and like magic, light flooded the space. Binti Suma and I tried flicking the switch too, and the lights went off. We pushed the switch up, and they turned on again. We pushed it down, and the lights turned off. While we were entertaining ourselves with the light switch, Mama turned a knob in a white tub. Water splashed out of the pipe, which our Mama called a faucet. She poured a capful of yellow liquid into the water, and bubbles began to fill the tub. Finally, Mama helped us climb in, our first bubble bath. Binti Suma and I were thrilled. "Smell me," I shouted with glee as I held up my hands. I had never smelled so good before. When we were bathed, our Mama wrapped us in towels, led us into the sleeping room, and presented each of us with clean, sweet-smelling clothes. Mine were pretty purple, and Binti Suma's were pink. I had no sooner gotten dressed than I remembered. Off I dashed to find my beautiful ballerina picture inside my old dirty clothes on the bathroom floor. Thankfully, it was still there. Mama began to unpack her luggage, pulling out some little dolls, beads, and bags of clothing. And then she found 2 pairs of sneakers that sparkled with pink glitter. When we stepped into them, lights flashed from our heels. Even though I loved the glittery sneakers, I stood at my mother's side, patiently waiting for the one thing that I really wanted, while Binti Suma gathered up the beads and dolls and spread them over the bed to play. Mama looked down at me and said something. Though I didn't understand a word of her English, I could tell by the sound of her voice that she was asking me a question. She unzipped all of the suitcases as though inviting me to search through them. Soon I was digging through piles of clothes and toys, checking all the nooks, crannies, and zippered compartments of Mama's luggage. But Mama had not brought me pink dancing shoes. She crouched down in front of me and asked, "What is it that you so desperately want, dear daughter?" I tried to remember the English words that teacher Sarah had taught me, but they wouldn't come to my lips. Instead, I babbled on in Creole when I tried to explain about the ballerina and the special pink shoes. My Mama finally shook her head. Clearly, she didn't understand me. Finally, I pulled out my magazine picture and handed it to her. While she carefully unfolded it, I twirled around the room and stood on the tips of my naked toes. My American mother gasped. Then she laughed. "So, you want to be a ballerina," she exclaimed in a happy voice. Ballerina, that was the word that teacher Sarah had taught me. "Yes," I shyly answered. My Mama placed her hands on my shoulders. Very slowly she said, "Home in America, you will dance."
Yeah. It's over there, and you go this way. We go that way?
Oh, thank you. That makes it organized.
Ben je al geweest? Ja, oké. Nee, ik zat er. Nee, ik zei vanaf jou.
Oh, wait, I have to fix my glasses to find out.
We're starting here, so that it's you and you.
Somebody told me that I have to.
Yeah, that sounds a little.
I changed my signature. But I'm trying to practice. That's why it's not the same.
I'm so thirsty.
What can I get you to
I want my water's there. I want to make sure.
I think you're done.
Yes.